Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pig City Podcast. Today we're getting into the top teams. If you listen to the 30 through 16, thank you. If you haven't, go check it out. Be at the end of the video. Link below. I don't know if that's true, but beside me is my co-host. Let's hop right into it. His name's Teddy Eller. No baseball paraphernalia, but he's here, ready to go.
Paraphernalia, great song. I want to name my firstborn daughter Paraphernalia, but I'm getting a lot of pushback from my girlfriend.
Oh, she's pregnant?
Great song, though. Great song. No, not pregnant.
You know, you know. All right.
Not pregnant. You know, you know.
All right.
That is deep.
Yeah, now you get it.
No,
Sorry, he's a little delayed, folks. It's because time change. I hate you, big cat. All right, now if you know, you know. We're really deep into the personal jokes, but hey, we're 1 minute into this. It's time to hop in. We got to get the retention. We got to get the people going. All of these teams have World Series aspirations. All these teams obviously have playoff aspirations. Teddy, this is a big pool of, I think, teams that if they get hot and get into the postseason, they could make a run. So if we critique these teams, everybody, again, it's because we're viewing them compared to the top 15, basically. And the good news for them is, as the season goes on, they're moving from this spot. The bad news from them is, we think highly of you, so we're going to criticize you more. Teddy, what you got for us?
Yeah, so, basically, did you want me to go ahead and start at 15 right now?
I just didn't know if you had any early thoughts before we start.
Well, you know, in light of recent news, there's obviously going to be a team that we are not going to have, or we would not have where we have them. That's just a little, you know, sneak peek into a certain team if you're in the know. But we'll talk about it more whenever we get there. But we're not changing anything because of recent news. This is our preseason ranking. We have not moved on from that. Obviously, things will probably change once the season starts, but that's just how our rankings in general.
Yeah, I'll talk about it when we get there. I don't know that I move them a whole lot, if I'm being completely honest, and I don't know what that says about me. But with that being said, for those of you that are fans of teams when bad things happen, or injuries occur, no idea what that was.
What this is?
I just started hearing noises. Anyways,
Oh, this is my water dispenser.
no free ads.
I haven't shown you yet. The water's by Prima. No free ads.
As I was saying, I don't know what I was saying, to be honest with you, dude. This thing is going amazing. I'm just kidding. Let's hop in. The teams, if you have a bad injury, you have something happen, and you're like, oh, can we get a moment of silence or some respect? Here's the thing. We will not give your person a moment of silence because that's disrespectful to our main man, Pluto.
Yeah, I was about to say, we only reserve moment of silence for Pluto.
Or deaths of active players.
That's fair, too.
Yeah. I did see a stat I wanted to share with you. I'll bring up in a little bit. So for stats.
About death of active players?
Yeah, now you really got my mind. All right, Teddy, show us first team. Come on, man. We're supposed to get into it in the first minute.
Okay. All right. At 15, or picking up off of from, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. 15. So we have them finishing third in their division.
The NL West is a juggernaut with obviously one of the best teams in the league, defending World Series champs, been in the World Series multiple times with the Dodgers. We'll get to them later this episode. Spoiler alert, they are a top 15 team. And then the Padres, who are a little bit more streaky, but they play the Dodgers so well and had the Dodgers on the brink up 3-2. Couldn't close out the last game. But this Diamondbacks team, Teddy, I know it's a soft spot for you because they ended the Philly season in the playoffs when they made the World Series, but this team was in the World Series a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we can even see it in our power rankings, I have them a lot closer to the Padres than you do. So I think that they have just as big of a chance to get the second spot as the Padres themselves. Obviously, that's something we disagree on. We'll talk about more when we get to the Padres. But I really like the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, what do you like about this team?
I think Corbin Carroll's going to have a bounce back. I think Ketel Marte is just such a beast. He really broke out last year, but I mean, and that's saying something because he's been very good. Obviously, they got Josh Naylor to come over. I think that's going to be a big hole that they get to fill in that lineup. Lourdes Gurriel is still good. I like Eugenio Suarez. What a career revival he's had since being in Arizona. And their their starting rotation. Guess who they added? Corbin Burns. Not only do they still have Zach Gallen, and Brandon Pfaadt from nowhere has just become a really good piece. Corbin Burns, like he's so good.
They have two.
I think this team is just really good. In almost every spot. It just, it's just such a tough division, and I don't want to say it seems clear that no one's going to finish first but the Dodgers, but it's kind of where it looks like the division's heading. So it's kind of just the battle for second. I think that there's definitely a wild card team and a playoff team just in general. It'd be hard for me to see them not make the playoffs, but again, I'm pretty high on the Diamondbacks for this year.
So, full transparency, a little bit of time has passed since I started my power rankings, since we finalized them, and since we're recording this, just because during the season, we'll be more up to date with how things are going. That's just a course of it. But preseason, there's things that happen and preparing. Looking back at my rankings, there are two things that I probably would go ahead and, not counting injuries, adjust. And one of them is my respect for the Diamondbacks was not what it should have been. I had them lower. They could at least move up, I believe, when I looked 4 or 5 spots, and I feel comfortable with that. This team can generate runs. They can run. And like you said, they can pitch. Imagine going into, this is a, kind of thought of Jake, shouts out again. I give him a lot of props, but from John Boy Media, he says he likes to do this test, and I agree, of like the weekend test. Like you look and say, all right, who we got this weekend? You're playing the Diamondbacks, and you have Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen on the mound. You don't feel good about that series. You feel terrible. And here's the thing. You get into the playoffs, you're going to be facing those two pitchers. I don't know.
They're 1-2 stronger than anyone else's one.
Yeah, I will say you did comment that, with, I think it was Scooble and Flaherty, you're like, they might be the best 1-2 punch. This might be the best 1-2 punch. There's some really good duels. But this, I mean, even Corbin Burns, when he didn't have as good as the second half, he's still a good pitcher, worst case. I don't know. This Diamondback team's already grew on me a little. I think it's just like we said, only one of those teams. There's probably not going to be all three in the top 10, but they could be. I think that would be less surprising than one of them being bad.
I could definitely see all three making the playoffs. Yeah. Like, not to throw shade on your division, but like, I don't really see a wild card team coming from the Central, in my opinion. So then you're looking at either 3 from the East or the West, which, by the way, the East could have 3 as well.
Yeah, we'll get there. Top 10, probably, spoiler. Top 50.
Another thing I love about this Diamondbacks team, before we move on, is I just love platoon at closing pitcher. I don't know. It's just so funny to me. Martinez and Puck, I don't know. I love it. Just having a platoon at closer is so sick. It's just one of my favorite things.
Yeah, you'll have to sell me on that a little bit more. I do think it's good opportunity-wise if you can go to one or the other, but I don't know. Yeah, we don't really have to talk about low side with this team because every team is a little bit volatile, but they got to generate some more offense. This year, but
bottom of that lineup, it does have some weak points.
But like, if you look at Corbin Carroll, all right, let me ask you this: will you be surprised if Corbin Carroll gets an MVP 7 this year?
Not at all.
Exactly. So like, when you have that kind of guy on your team, and then you mention it, dude, Marte. 2018, 2019, it's like, oh, this dude, he's balling. He just suddenly is back and maybe even better. And he's got more. It's not like he just... shouts out to him. True player.
Josh Naylor is still such an underrated piece to add to that lineup. They're a good team.
Yeah, you're a higher on my end, but hey, nothing wrong with being positive. Yeah. Shouts out to the Snakes. All right, we gave them love because we're going to be seeing them in October, possibly.
Right. All right, so going on to 14, the Minnesota Twins. We have them, when I say we, I'm going by our power rankings, have them second in their division, and me and you disagree quite a bit on this team.
Yeah, and we'll kind of follow the mold of whoever's higher gets to kind of talk about them a little more, kind of like we just did with the Diamondbacks. So I'll throw it to you because I'll get to my discrepancies and problems with the Twins in a second. But what do you like? Not only what do you like, what level of faith do you have in this team? Because I think that we might not be as far away as our rankings seem.
Well, for one, I love their pitching. I do. The rotation is fantastic in my eyes. I think the bullpen is really good. A lot of great studs in that bullpen. I'm in love with the pitching. I think that division itself, it has its like weak spots and everything. It's definitely weaker at the top than the East and the West, which that's kind of just how Central divisions go. And I think the really big selling point with this team versus those other teams is the pitching, which I think is so important. But also their lineup. Again, assuming health is a wild thing to do whenever you're talking about Royce Lewis. Sadly, it's just not worked out in his favor at all. But assuming health, looking at their projected lineup, I mean, there's not that many holes. I don't hate it at all. Like, the biggest hole that you can even look at is Brooks Lee, and I think he's due for a breakout season. I love him. Obviously, he's a switch hitter, which, I love. But really young guy, high-rated prospect. I'm excited to see what he does this year. I just like this team. I think the addition of Harrison Bader also is going to help since, Byron Buxton, you also can't trust him to stay healthy. I love the look of this team. I really do. Carlos Correa, I think he's going to have a big year this year. Um, Again, it's just health. That's just the biggest thing is having to assume health, hoping for a healthy team. But the lineup looks good, and that pitching just phenomenal in my eyes.
Yeah, I don't really know how to say these things without sounding like I'm just very low on this team. So I'm just going to say it. And again, guys, this isn't arguing. This is stating our point. Then, hey, the season will happen and we'll see what goes.
Right.
Full transparency, this team hurt me and broke me and beat me down last year because I believed in them. I believed in Byron Buxton, which not the worst. Royce Lewis, I feel like I was very early on the Royce Lewis hype train, and then he went into like one slump, but he just got hurt over and over.
He just can't stay healthy.
Is still a good player, but the only reason he's not one of the most highly paid players in the entire league is no one wants to pay him because they don't trust his ankles, which is another just crazy thing. Teddy, this team, I think a lot of it is rooted in, I want to see how they slug. What's their extra base looks like? What's their home run total look like? The current age we're in, this team is kind of like a little bit similar, which again, respect to the Brewers. I'm respecting them by winning their division, but they're like kind of the same, except they just don't come through and win in the end. And I mean, they had one of the biggest collapses. They had the biggest collapse last year. One of the biggest collapses I've seen from the team. They fell apart completely, and I don't know, something about them I just can't buy into. I try to do this visualization thing, and there's a lot of other teams I see winning a big game where they don't. And it's not being a hater. Maybe you see it that way. If you are a Twins fan, that's fine. Maybe it's Minnesota, and the last time they were in a big game, 38-7 NFC Championship, shouts out. But I don't know. I just can't picture them beating any. I'd have to look at the list fully as we go through it. I don't know who I would say, besides obviously the team of their division, you have them maybe beating. I kind of think they're just not as good as any of the other teams, but they're better than the bad teams, and it's hard for me to respect that. Like, at least the young teams that are unknown, you don't know. I kind of feel like we know what this team is, and they're a borderline playoff team to me. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I will say it's kind of harsh saying they're borderline because just thinking of that division, it's so, they can easily win that division. I even had them winning the division, but
They could have last year. They finished fourth.
Yeah. You're right. I don't know, man. They faced a lot of injury problems, and obviously that can happen again, but I like the pitching. I really do.
Yeah, this may be the team we actually disagree on the most as far as belief in. For example, I see a world in which the team we just talked about, the Diamondbacks, I see a world in which they get hot and they are scary to play. Maybe it's because I've seen it. I don't know. They did but maybe that's my own thing I got to figure out. I'm out on the Twins. Twins fan, all 7 of you, let me know why you dislike me, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say yes, wild. But yeah, last thing I'll say about the Twins, shout out Kevin Scaff. Shout out lead guitarist for A Day to Remember, my favorite band. He's a huge Twins fan, so shout out.
All right. One little note I want to say, Teddy, they did lose someone that you absolutely love. No,
that is true, but now that the Phillies got him, it's all love from me. All right, moving on to the number 13.
That's how he likes the Twins. They gave him his player. Okay.
The Cleveland Guardians. Now, this one, along with the Blue Jays, is tied for the one that we have the biggest disagreement on. The Pick City rankings came down to them finishing first in their division. Yeah, I have them finishing fourth in their division. You have them as a top 10 team, top 7 team. So, yeah, you kick it off because we disagree heavily on this team.
The Guard Dogs. Jose Ramirez, elite at everything.
He is elite, yeah.
Including being a leader, including getting the most out of his people, including just, look, maybe I'm buying into culture a little more with some of the teams. Maybe it's the fact that last year, again, I went through the phase of, it sounds like you're at where I was last year of, I just don't see
I was on the right side for both of those teams, by the way, last year.
I don't know what the other team you're referring to is, but
Twins. I was on the right side of the Twins and Guardians last year, and I think I'm on the right side of them again. You were on the wrong side of both. I was on the right side of both, and I
don't
think
know
that
where you
listen,
we're
still
not,
in that.
We're not going. Oh, I can bring up the tapes. I don't know. I don't remember what you said about the Twins
You can
last
bring
year.
up the tapes. That's fine.
I'm just saying I don't remember what you said about the Twins last year. But I do know that the Guardians, everything that I said about them, they just said, hey, we're just going to win. You don't think we can score a lot? Watch this. We're still going to win. Well, you don't think Stephen Kwan is going to be a long-term MLB player? Well, he's just going to be one of the top hits leaders in the league. Well, you don't think that we're going to be able to continue to find arms?
Stephen Kwan.
This is actually not true. I have him finishing first in the division. You have him fourth. And then last year, whenever it seemed like, oh, maybe that actually might be true, what happened when it mattered most? The leadership, the presence, the team that finds ways to win kept winning, and they win. And so it's hard for me to just turn my back to that. I know you're really upset about their loss, and that's fair. A good, solid starting piece on their team. I am not concerned about the Guardians, and
Couple solid pieces of their team.
I don't think that they're gonna have struggles with pitching. They'll find a way. They just do, and they score. Like I don't really know. I guess the biggest disagreement that we have on this is when you look at projections, when you look at numbers, you're seeing these names, you're seeing, hey, you got to be getting a lot of them, and I see, yeah, and they're going to.
Yeah. I'll give them this at their bullpen. Well, I like some of their bullpen. They do have a couple young guys that are projected to be opening day in the bullpen that are so untested that who knows. But Clase is a certified stud, and I like Cade Smith a lot. Obviously, Bibby is a stud. He's, certified ace. I really like him. I don't care for the rest of that starting rotation at all. Like, you want to talk about the looking ahead to a weekend or even a series and seeing like, all right, what do we have to face? You can look at a 3 or 4 game series and be like, okay, Bibby's going to be a tough game, but we can win the rest. And then you want to talk about lineup. I mean, they lost 2 guys that were huge for that team. They're not really replacing Josh Naylor with Carlos Santana, who is 39 or will be 39 here shortly. There's not much to inspire me there. Having Gabriel Arias step in for Andres Jimenez is definitely not going to inspire me. There's nothing really, like, you're really high on Lane Thomas. You always have been.
Yes.
Underrated
moves they made.
He was a negative WAR player for them last year.
He didn't play for them last year.
Yeah, he did.
Well, he got traded.
He played 53 games for them. He was a negative WAR player. Batted 209, slugged 390.
Sorry, I'm gonna be honest. I was looking for somebody. Look, again, I believe
his ROBA was a 280. Like OPS plus a 85. He has been kind of a letdown, like, as the years have gone on because he was so highly rated, and then he was even more of a letdown once he joined the team. There's not much that inspires me at all with this team. Even Fangraphs has their third hole spot right here as a platoon.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're in DH there, but you love platoon.
For closer. And like maybe like bottom of the lineup stuff, but like for your guy, for your 3-hole hitter, like
it's the Cleveland way, dude. They
what? What have they won? What have they done?
Their division?
Okay. How many years in the past decade?
Have they won their division?
Yes.
I don't have that in front of me. I can look it up as we move through this.
Yeah, I can look that up too. So basically, I don't understand how big there is a disconnect we have with the Twins and the Guardians, because basically, like, I need to understand where we disagree the heaviest on these teams. Because when I look at these power rankings, I'll say it, it's both of us. You have the Guardians 11 spots ahead of the Twins. I have the Twins 9 spots ahead. So we are on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm thinking this is a good opportunity for a bet on this year between us.
Just I think So really quickly,
it can be a simple head-to-head.
In the last 9 years, okay, the Twins have won the division 3 times, and the Guardians have won it 8. I mean 5. Sorry. So like
Guardians have won it twice. I'm looking at it right here, twice.
In the last 9 years, they've won it 5 times, and the Twins have won it 3.
I'm seeing Guardians twice.
I mean, that's just not true.
I can show you what I'm looking at. I see Guardians twice. Okay. Well, sorry. I forgot who I'm talking to. I should have been more specific. But you even said last year whenever we were doing this power rankings, and again, you can pull the tapes if you want to. You're getting very contested with it. That's fine. Basically what you were saying is, like, it's the Twins division until they prove otherwise. And I was very sold on the Guardians at that point. Well, since I've completely flipped on these Guardians because, I mean, they're key pieces they've just moved on from. Even the fans of the Guardians aren't happy because that's just how they operate. That's how they roll. That's how that ownership works. J-Ram is great. Stephen Kwan, he's great. You have Tanner Bibby. Clase is obviously one of, if not the best closer in baseball. But that's it. Again,
I think it's
nothing
possible.
else inspires me with this team.
I think it would, dude, we've given this a lot of time, but it's the two we disagree on a lot. I think that it's possible we're both being too negative towards
The other. That's what I'm saying is we have a huge gap in between these teams,
Yeah.
and they could finish within 5 wins of each other, and that's a huge possibility.
Yeah. To do it very much. They really might. And
Yeah,
honestly, they could finish third and fourth, if we're being truly honest.
that is very true. I mean, Royals and Tigers are definitely capable of winning that division as well. But yeah, you're right though. We have spent way too much time on these, but like you said, they're right back to back. They're both in the same division. They have this huge gap that we have with both of them. It's something that we can watch. But do you want to make a bet on these two teams? We can go simple, just win total, higher win total.
That's
They don't
fine.
even have to win the division.
Okay, I like that way better. Last year, the Guardians did win 10 more games.
That's fine. But they also have gone significantly worse. Yeah. So, all right. That was a clean handshake. I don't know if it syncs up, but on my side.
Sorry for the AL Central breakdown there.
Yeah, sorry if we're having to talk Central, guys.
Hey, we're talking about team, but again, I think I will say this: Twins and Guardians. I don't feel confident either of them making a run in the playoffs. If I'm being completely honest.
No, me neither. All right. So yeah, sorry to spend so much time with the Central team. So number 12 in our power rankings, the Chicago Cubs.
I also do.
We have them winning
before
their
getting
division.
The Cubs, I just want to say the Guardians also were just in the ALCS last year. So you're correct that they didn't win.
Again, they got significantly worse, so that's fine. Last year means nothing to me whenever they lose two of their main pieces.
Okay, you're being very defensive. I was just saying whenever I said I don't see them making a run of the playoffs, I guess you could call that a run.
Well, that is, but again, the run's not going to happen when they are now missing two of their main. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm just saying I would have said last year I don't think either are going to make a run either. And I guess they technically did, but
you did. Like I said, we were different on the Guardians
last year. All right, next team.
Chicago Cubs.
Central.
Wait, do you want to move on or do you want to talk about the Guardians?
I don't get it. You can talk for literally 5 minutes. All right, go ahead. Never mind.
I just don't understand where you were the one that got contested with it. All right.
When y'all watch this, comment who got more contested.
Do it. The Chicago Cubs have winning their division. You had them second. I had them first. You had them very close with the Brewers, which, again, the Central is your division. The NL Central is, that's your baby. So I want you to speak on the Cubs.
Truthfully, the only reason I probably don't have the Cubs even a little higher is this is a team we really agreed on last year. I think last year preseason we had them 8th overall. And I think their roster,
we had them very high.
Yeah, you could say their roster might be a little more complete this year. They don't have maybe some of the heights I saw them getting to last year. They did make a great piece addition with Kyle Tucker. He can truly be great. We'll see. Sometimes regression happens and it keeps going, and then other times it's doesn't really matter because it's baseball. I am very scared to see him do really well with this team. I don't hate the Cubs the way I do other teams in our division, to be honest.
Cardinals.
I don't like Truth, but even the Pirates.
Yeah, right.
I don't really like the Brewers either. The Cubs might be the team I hate the least, but they also as a young kid, I guess. I don't know. My papa loves the Cubs. Shouts out, Big Earn.
Shouts out.
Not Pluto though. So, I don't really dislike anything about this team. I don't love their starting pitching. Their bullpen's good. I just think they're going to be competitive. It's the Central. And I know power rankings are not based on what division you play in as far as this team is going to be better because they play these worst teams. But that is part of it. And that is when I see them the most. And I see them playing against these teams the most. So I think they are, by just on paper, writing it down, they are the best team in this division. For whatever reason, they couldn't piece it together. And they tried to make a run at the end of last year and they just never could. It's kind of like, until I see it, I'm not going to. And there's nothing, Kyle Tucker is very good. There's nothing that this offseason they did where I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to win now. It's like they could, but I don't know. I think if they would have added a strong arm and maybe they have somebody they can bring up or trade for or something, I'll believe them a little more, but they don't scare me in a series. I think they're a complete team. I give them a B+. Yeah, I don't expect them to sweep teams in series, but I expect them to win most of the series.
Right. And going off of that, I agree with basically everything. I think the starting rotation last year was not what they wanted at all. Obviously, Imanaga is a stud. He's really good. Justin Steele, he's good. He can be good. And then to fix that bottom half of the rotation, they bring in Matthew Boyd and Colin Rea. The double digits look so smooth. Anyways,
Good take.
I need to see more from this team this year. I do have them winning the division. A lot of that just has to do with the NL Central itself, to be honest with you. And kind of my thoughts about how that's going to shake out. We've already talked about how close we have all those NL Central teams together. Yeah. It's kind of just a cluster right there to where I can see anyone winning that division. This is kind of just the team I chose because I do like some of their main pieces. Like Dansby Swanson, he's really good. I love Ian Happ. Kyle Tucker, really good. Is Nico Horner, is he going to be ready opening day at all? He had surgery back in October.
I do not know how long he is out, but what I do know is Matt Shaw Rookie of the Year is a great thing if you want to invest in.
That is true.
Being able to hit the second half of the lineup. If Shaw and Armstrong produce, having a lineup that's longer, we talk about this in baseball a lot, having a long lineup, it changes everything. Now, he's got to do it, and obviously, having faith in young players can sometimes work, sometimes not work. But look, man, this is a good team.
Yeah,
I don't think they're great. I think they're going to flirt near our top 10 throughout the year.
Right. It is a good team. Like you were even saying earlier about, like, if we were going just division-less, then maybe they wouldn't be as high on the power rankings, I guess you could say. I think, also don't forget, they brought in Vidal Brujan. He's not really panned out and reached that potential that he could reach, but he was also in Miami. Maybe some of that reaches now. I don't know. Last year, we were high on them. They disappointed. I would like to see them kind of live up to that expectation. I know you don't want to see them live up to the expectation, but
it's baseball.
It would be nice. Yeah.
I will give an update. This is also the team we're going to see play first this season against the Dodgers and the Overseas Series. Nico is not traveling with the team for that and still going to be rehabbing. So I don't know if he'll be ready for conventional opening day, but he will not be playing in that.
He will not be playing in the Tokyo Series.
So that is a Jesse Rogers report.
Yeah. Who knows when he'll be ready then? He had surgery back in October, and depending on the surgery, it could sideline you. I mean, he could be sidelined until May. Who knows? Yeah. I don't think he's like this huge piece too. So
it's just weird how much we agree on things when we agree.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to number 11, we have the Boston Red Sox. Yeah. So I already know that you are very high on the Boston Red Sox. We have them finishing third in their division. You had them finishing third, and I had them finishing fourth. So I would like for you to start with, well, that's how I think you disrespect the Blue Jays, but I will have you start.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not actually disrespect. It's just you believe in the Blue Jays more than I do. I
think we can both agree that's the three.
Let's don't get stuck in a Blue Jays Red Sox debate. Hey, you want to make that debate? I'll do that with you too. We already got Blue Jays Rays. You can really win out with the Blue Jays. Just go all in on them.
I could.
Look, man, this was a 500 ball club last year, and they just kind of piece things together. Now, Jarren Duran, star, borderline superstar already.
He's a star.
Yeah, I have zero fear with him batting leadoff. 160 games.
Yep.
Rafael Devers, he's gonna hit. He's playing third. He's gonna hit. He smacks the ball.
Yep. Tanks.
And honestly, we're gonna get to it later. The only person that might not have been happy about the news of a significant injury is him, because he destroys the best pitchers in his division. They go out and add Alex Bregman. I am not as high on Alex Bregman as some people giving him MVP talks, but that is not disrespect. That's just, I'm not.
MVP might be a little crazy, but I think he's a stud, and I think he slots in very nicely.
Yes, and if you play him at second and Devers at third, whether you have Yoshida or platooning, in that DH slot, you get an extra bat in there if you can have somebody hit in the DH slot. So I think you play him a second, and he seems like he's going to do it. It is weird that Devers has that much kind of control, but that's another story.
Yeah, because he's also, and I could be wrong, but Devers is not a plus fielder, is he?
I'd have to see that. He's not.
I have to look it up.
His errors are egregious, but he's not near as bad of a fielder as he gets a rep for, but obviously Bregman's much better.
Right.
I believe in Tristan Casas to have an uptick. This is kind of the time of we're going to see. This is a make or break. He's getting the opportunity. He's going to slot in the cleanup spot. I am not going to get my hopes up for Trevor Story. Just I picked him to win Rookie of the Year. His rookie year, best pick I've had. And since then, he just, again, injury players. They have a couple weak spots, like we've said. I really think that they have some young talent that's going to be part of this roster.
He is a negative fielder. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, it's not cutting off. They're just adding information.
It is kind of crazy that he has so much say of staying in third instead of him just DHing. But yeah, again, you take over. Sorry.
Yeah, because, I mean, who's going to bat it playing second? Anyways, they have some young guys that I like. You can come in. Is it Roman Anthony? Am I crazy?
Yeah, Roman Anthony is.
Okay. Yes.
I don't think he's going to be on the opening day roster, but he's definitely someone that we'll probably see this year.
Yes. And, I mean, when you have these pieces, we've seen Boston, weirdly enough, they were 500 last year, but we've seen them from a down year to come back and just be great. This team just, they're playing in Fenway. They know how to play in Fenway better than anybody. I just like a lot of things about this team. And then, if that couldn't be good enough with the lineup, which I trust a little more than maybe you do, obviously the bottom large can be.
Yeah, you definitely trust the lineup a lot more than me.
But they go add Garrett Crochet, who, even though he's going to be pitching Fenway, stud. They add Walker Buehler, who I really, really believe in. The only thing I don't believe in Walker Buehler is he did make his numbers 0. That is a bad sign. And then Lucas Giolito, I remember a couple years ago, look, when you're around greatness and you get to be the 4th pitcher in a rotation and you get to be in this Boston, regardless of what we want to say, in our lifetime, Boston's been a winning place. Listen, I don't know what they're going to do in the 5 spot. It looks like they have Quinn Priester here as their 5th option. Who knows how long they'll stay. They add Chapman, which is weird. Garrett Whitlock is an absolute beast. I don't know how much they're going to use him in the opener roles or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't love their bullpen.
I like Justin Wilson being able to switch it up with a lefty. I don't know how they're going to shake things out with Chapman and Hendricks. Shout out, Liam.
He's back.
I like a lot of things about this team, and I think they kind of have options. I mean, they still have Cutter Crawford and Brian Bayo, who can join the rotation as well. We haven't seen the best from him. I thought he was going to have a much better jump up last year, but sometimes players are a little delayed. I like this team. I believe in this team, and I think I don't want to use this word because it sounds like a negative, but their potential is like, I don't think that it's for sure they're 3 or 4. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. So while our numbers are not that different, I think in a lot of hearing your discussion about them, I think we are further off than just that 4. I love the starting rotation. That top 4, Giolito, if he was a 3 or especially a 2, it would be a lot less inspiring. But as a 4, I mean, for a 4, that's really good. And not to mention, like, he could even be bumped to 5 once Cutter Crawford comes back. Like,
Or Brian.
Brian Bayo, he needs to show me something if I'm to start talking like that with him. But the bullpen, I don't like the bullpen, to be honest with you. I just don't. Yeah, I mean, Aroldis Chapman looks to be their best arm, and I mean, he's 37 now. I don't know. And the lineup, you already talked about it. Jaron Duran, he's a star already, bordering on that superstar level. Devers is just a beast at the plate. He's so good. Bregman is obviously a stud in my eyes. I love that. And I like Tristan Casas. I'll say that. I like Tristan Casas. After that, it's just nothing. It's nothing to me. Like, running through it, Trevor Story, just no, not for me. Yoshida has just not been it.
They got it. I will say they have to find production from the DH spot, especially if you're going to keep Devers
right now,
and Bregman there.
Yeah, because they have a platoon going with him and Rami Gonzalez, and there's just nothing about that excites me. Rob Refsnyder in corner outfield with Connor Wong behind the dish, and if Rafaela can produce more, there's a lot of Johan Rojas vibes with Rafael. To me, I want him to produce more. He's exciting. He is young. I like him a lot. I just need to see more. I think the pitching is great. The hitting is not, and that division is so tough that for me, it's definitely 3 or 4, and I just have them 4.
By the way, I completely forgot about somebody to mention, because this guy, I fully believe, will be playing in the MLB. I'll pull up his page. But Christian Campbell, he is going to hit, he's going to play, and if that happens, maybe they do make a different move in their lineup.
Yeah, it's just, got to see it. I got to see it from the Red Sox this year. I just do. I think again, very top heavy in that lineup with absolute studs, and it just falls off tremendously in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's a weird lineup to look at because those first 3, even 4 guys scare you. If you're an opposing pitcher, they scare you. I would hate to face off against Duran, then Devers, then Bregman. That 1-2-3 is, that's as strong as the 1-2-3 as you might get. Just being honest, like that's crazy.
It is good.
But then looking at 5 through 9, just nothing to me. It doesn't move the needle at all.
The next time we have a strong disagreement on our team, I'll be willing to pitch my Red Sox out there and go to battle with whoever you want to bring up. But I think we made it clear that we have very strong differences in their long-term view. I think where we have them power ranking wise right now is, like you said, kind of close. It's just, I believe them to improve a lot. You kind of think they're going to stay where they are.
Well, a lot of those guys that I'm talking about are also like, they're older. Like Rafael is the only one that, you can see make that jump from the lineup. Like, I don't envision Trevor Story.
Christian Campbell, one of these young guys is going to come through. Just wait.
Maybe. It's baseball.
I agree.
Young guys come in that have high potential and don't pan out all the time. That happens all the time. It's baseball. That's just baseball. So we'll see. Like I said, Rafael can improve, but Trevor Story's not getting better. Masataka Yoshida is not getting better. Rob Refsnyder is not getting better. Connor Wong is abysmal at the plate. I don't know. The rotation's fantastic. Top 3 is fantastic. Other than that, I got nothing for them. All right. But yeah, we can move on. That'll be something that we'll monitor. Like you said, we do have them close. Another team we have pretty close that I was surprised on because I thought, since I had them so high up, I thought you were not going to be as high on them. The Seattle Mariners. So they are our first top 10 team that we're going to talk about. The Seattle Mariners. So while I have them higher than you have them higher than the next team we're going to be talking about. But we do have them right at the exact same area because we have them one spot each different. Yeah. But we have them finishing 3rd in their division. And this is a division that has 3 teams battling for the top spot. And you have 2 teams battling for the bottom spot. Talking about the Seattle Mariners, I'll kick things off real quick. You can't talk about them without talking about their pitching. Rotation, it feels like it's just their culture at this point to have elite pitching. Even their bullpen is fantastic. Andres Munoz is so good. The pitching is just phenomenal. I'm really excited to see Brian Wu in this second full season of his kind of take off. And he's their number 4. You want to talk about Giolito at a number 4 for the Red Sox. Brian Wu is so exciting. Just incredible pitching. The problem last year, though, was their bats. Their bats have not really changed going into this season. So it is kind of crazy for us to be like, they're going to put it together at the plate this time. But for some reason, we think that. Like I said, I still think that. Do you have any insight on that? Because saying it out loud, it does sound crazy. We're being crazy, but I truly believe it.
I think this is how it is. And you could make a strong case that the pitching's not going to be as good because of how insanely good it was. Teddy, I don't know if you have the numbers in front of you. I think they had 7 people start a game last year. That's it? No, Teddy.
That's insane.
Maybe
also, just keeping the health and everything.
They're so good. They're so talented. Shouts out to George Kirby if you haven't seen any of his techniques. I don't need a catcher to throw bullpens. I'll throw to a 9-hole net and I'll hit spots because it's more dependable than where a catcher is going to be, and I don't have to worry about stealing. Anyways, he's a beast. I picked him to win Cy Young last year, and I believe in him more this year because he had a few bad outings. Other nights, though, he looks great. Anyways, their pitching, like you just said, is so good that it kind of is like, hey, all we need is the offense, and I feel like this is the narrative around them from everyone, but it's true. We just need the offense to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to win. And Cal Raleigh can hit. They have some good. A-Rod, take the next step. Don't be settled for being at the low part of stars. Jump up. Take over this league. Last year in our position player draft, I took him and said he was going to be the best center fielder in the American League. Didn't happen. Okay? Stay healthy. Stay in the bat. Have a good approach. Mm-hmm. They play in Seattle, so their pitching does benefit a little from that, and their hitting does suffer a little from that.
Right.
But here's the thing, Teddy. I think, truthfully, the insight like you asked for, these are players. These are good baseball players that, yes, they're in a tough division, but we see this team. They can compete with anybody. A couple years ago when the Rangers won the World Series, remember, it was down to the last game to see who got in the playoffs, who was there. And I think if the Mariners lost in the divisional series last year, listen how weird this is. let's say they lost in the divisional series, they lost in the championship series last year and didn't change anything, we'd be like, okay, I guess they just don't want to make the next step. Because they just didn't perform to what they thought, it's almost like I believe in it more because it's like, oh, it wasn't like they were that close. It's just things didn't line up. It wasn't their time. I am a little surprised that they've not traded one of these arms for bat. You can afford to do it. When you have these guys, at the deadline last year, talks were heating up. Maybe they trade Castillo. He's a little bit older. Shouts out to my dog. Traded on my birthday from the Reds. Sadness. But I don't know if they make a move like that. They got to get a little more pop.
Yeah.
I love this.
They do.
I love this team. Also, there's a few teams like this. If you watch their home broadcast, if you have that ability, I love their wire camera that goes around. And so maybe that influence.
Yeah, that is sick.
It's so sick. Yeah. Shouts out West Coast. Shouts out Seattle. Shouts out Grant Nip. I mean, he won't be playing this year, but either way, I like this team. I wish I could say I love everything about it, but I'm going to retract my love and say I strongly like this team.
Yeah, I like it too. And even looking at some of their stats from last year, because, they were bottom 10 in runs per game. They were bottom 10 in, their extra base hits.
Just be top 12.
There was only one team worse when it came to batting average, and that was the Chicago White Sox. It can only go up, right?
Just be a top 12 offense.
It makes me
Be a
feel
top 12
insane to think of them in this other light, but their pitching. When I look at their pitching stats, they're the top team in almost everything, and I think that they pull it together because I like their bats. When I look at their lineup, I do like it.
Go into a weekend series with them. Go into a playoff series facing these pitchers.
Yeah, even if there's their bottom three and you have Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, Emerson, and Hancock, it's still not, maybe not Emerson, but it's still not, but that's just because George Kirby I don't know when he'll be back, but when he does get back, it would be Kirby, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, bottom of that rotation. Yeah, I think we are not insane, but I can see how we can be viewed as insane because we just assume they're going to hit, but I truly believe that. I like their lineup, genuinely. I see these names and I actually get excited and think that they can do some things. And so we'll see. I like the Mariners, and I think that the Mariners, with talking, and we can even say that you have them 13th, I have them 9th. Moving on to our 9th team, the Houston Astros, you have them 14th, I have them 8th. So we have them right there with the Mariners, literally in lockstep, both of us. So yeah, the Astros, just you want to talk about cultures for a team that's just always there, even losing, a Kyle Tucker or a Bregman, they bring in but they bring in Christian Walker, they bring in Isak Paredes. Even Brendan Rodgers is not a bad pickup from a terrible Rockies team. Just looking at this lineup, it's still if you're an Astros hater still in the year of 2025, I mean, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for this team to be bad because they're still going to be really good. Altuve is still a stud, by the way, doing it.
Jose Altuve's left fielder? Crazy.
Yeah, we can keep predicting his downfall, but that's just never going to happen, apparently.
I'm not going to lead the charge to tell you this is the year Jose Altuve.
Right. But, they also just have 2 Cy Young contenders as their 1-2 punch.
I love Brown. And, Framber, his style's weird, but he's so productive, so efficient. He's
so productive.
He has, how many almost no-hitters does he have? I feel like I got, 5 alerts last year. Framber Valdez, no-hitter through 7 2/3. It's crazy. And that is the actual culture. I'm not even making a joke here. That is watching the film and having a game plan and executing it, not just going out there playing pickup, right? They have great insight, great leadership. They're a very good team.
I like the bullpen too, man.
It probably was a little more wishful thinking that I think the Mariners will beat them in the division. But, a couple years ago, the Rangers were able to pull through and go on a run and win it all. I think these teams are going to be competitive. I think the Astros should get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what the bottom of their rotation, how they're going to pan out.
That's true.
And so it gives me, because, we can trust these things much, but it is a long season. They lost some innings. They lost some bats. I think the Christian Walker addition is great, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially because they got no production there last year.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. I think the thing with the Astros is the reason you can believe in them, they have a very high floor, almost as high as any team that's, in the area.
Wholeheartedly agree.
But I don't know how I feel about them compared to these teams, and that's what we're doing. So They probably trusted the Mariners, but they are higher than the Mariners technically on our list.
Yeah, I think last year, you want to talk about a high floor. I think last year they kind of, bottomed out and were at their floor. They won their division. I think now, love the term that floor is very high because that's how I view their last season going. So this season, it seems like their expected should be still winning the division, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it. You want to talk about a team bottoming out the Rangers, but we'll get to it.
Pena, swing it a little bit better,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I will be more shocked if this team has a losing record than if they're a division winner.
Yeah, just a really good team. Solid team. Just a team that you see how they're ran, and an Astro fan just, you want to talk about just excitement every single year and just full trust in your franchise. How could you not with this Astros team? It's
but I want the Mariners to win.
The model of success, the Houston Astros, when it comes to baseball in the American League. So yeah, very high on them. I think they'll be good. Like you said, really the only weak part you can point to is the bottom part of that rotation.
It's the Astros.
Blanco showed promise. Arrigetti's not terrible. I don't know much about this Wisniewski kid, to be honest with you.
Me either.
So we'll see what happens with him. But like you said, it's the Astros. They're probably going to be just fine. Yeah.
All right.
That's basically it on the Astros. Moving on. This is our last team that we have severe disagreement on. The San Diego Padres. So, again, you are incredibly high on them, so I want you to take the floor.
No, that's a trick. I'm not taking the floor on the Padres, okay? I want to talk about the positives. Look, we can have a full 30-minute conversation on Luis Arias if we want. You can 38% of the time it feels like, just based on actually, what was his on base last year? Let me give you an official stat here.
It was higher than 38.
35 actually. No, he fell off at the end. Yeah. So 35% of the time last year, and that's lower than the last 2 years.
Yeah, it did fall off. Yeah,
well,
you're right.
Sorry, projections.
Yeah, I like how also it fell off, but he still got 200.
Yeah, I was gonna say sorry. I was actually looking at projections for this year.
200 hits, 39 extra base hits.
Yeah. So you're starting out with a guy on first. All right, let's just end that. Tatis. I don't know how to say this, Teddy. There's few players I just think are dynamic. You remember the spring training reports of like, we don't know if he can play right field. Who cares? He doesn't care. He attacks a baseball. I love the Jackson Merrill addition.
Jackson Merrill is phenomenal.
He's so good.
And he's as good of a young player as you can get. He's not even 22.
And then Teddy, I love a lineup that's left, right, left, right, left. It's beautiful. Okay. Cronenworth in the 5-hole. I skipped around a little. I skipped Machado. You might not like Machado. I understand if you don't like him. There's some questionable, at best, there's some questionable plays he's been involved in. Okay. He's a great baseball player.
He is. Absolutely.
Xander, not the year I thought he was going to have last year, but he's got a little pop left still in his bat.
He does.
Moving down the line a little bit. He's going to be good. I mean, he's still projected to be almost a 4-WAR player, and that's like bad for him. You got some question marks, right? We look at the ball 3. I just think the height of this team, not their physical height, obviously, but their ceiling. Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, Pivetta, Kyle Hart. They have some other arms. They got Joe Musgrove with a Tommy John last year. Teddy, I don't know how to say this other than to say there's few teams 10 o'clock at night. I got the games on West Coast and I'm seeing, oh yeah, Padres are up 8-2. Oh, Padres are up 7-3. They just bully teams. And I'll be honest, and maybe our team will be a little different. Maybe you would be looking at this roster exactly the same way you are. I know it's about ifs, whats. However, in my opinion, they were a game away from winning the World Series last year. The Yankees could have won, sure, whatever. This team plays the Dodgers as well as anyone. And if our cream of the crop is the Dodgers, okay, if that ends up being our number one team, we'll see. Maybe they are. I don't know. This team, I love the rivalry they have with them. I think it's fair, the criticisms you may have in a second. I love this Padres team. If Tatis plays at that MVP level, that's really the biggest thing I'm banking on, is him not just being good, but being phenomenal. Yeah, cliche, but sky's the limit with this team.
Yeah, I think while I do have them one spot ahead of the Diamondbacks, I have both of them outside the top 10, and you have the Padres at 4. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not as high on them. I think top 5 is unrealistic for this team, if I'm being completely honest. I think, yes, Luis Arias, hits leader. He's phenomenal at his singles and getting on. That's great. Tatis, beast. Jackson Merrill, he's incredible at such a young age. He's on the path to be one of the greatest players in our lifetime, to be honest with you. Just at what he's done already at 21 and how great he looks. Machado is one of the best players of our lifetime. He's phenomenal. And Xander definitely can still swing it. The rest does nothing to me. The rest is really, really weak. The pitching, while I am, in love with Cease and Michael King, is that 1-2 punch. That's great. Yu Darvish still, he can still pitch some. Pivetta is not terrible. You're going to have Musgrove back. It's not bad. The bullpen, Robert Suarez is really good. Again, I think this is a good baseball team. I think this is a playoff team, but that also, a top 5 team, I shouldn't be able to pick out that many things. And so that's my biggest hesitation with how good they are. I still think they're a really good team. I have them in the playoffs. I have them second in that tough division.
Now,
I still think they're a really good team. But top 5 is the only, especially top 4, it's the only thing that I can really disagree on, just because I have so many things that I can pick apart from this team.
Yeah, and to be clear, the way you phrase it sounds kind of weird, but what we're saying is Joe Musgrove going to be out this whole year is a loss, significant. Mm-hmm. But, I think the biggest difference we have on the team is I believe in them to pitch. And I think
and they knew they were going to be without Musgrove, and that's why they even brought in Pivetta.
Yeah.
Because they needed to fill that. Right.
They had some big departures that, maybe they won't fill as easily as I'm thinking. And again, maybe it's in my head that they literally finished as a top 4 team and we're right there to beat the Dodgers 1 game away. That is very possible. Okay. In my mind, maybe that's what I'm looking back to. But I'm fascinated with their top 4, 5, and possibly 6 if Cronenworth and Bogarts can get it together.
Bogarts, I think, can. Cronenworth, I'm not sold on. But I think...
they're also not scared to go make them good.
I think they're a really good team. I just don't think they're a great team. That's basically it. So, yeah. Moving on, we are going to round out the AL West with our number 17, Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers
might be one of the team agree on the most.
Yeah, see, that is a team that really bottomed out last year.
World Series hangover can be a real thing. You play a lot longer. They had
and it was a
injuries.
Thing. Yeah, they never had a you want to talk about injury luck? We talk about injury luck, and we can look at the Mariners, for example, and can talk about how they didn't face that much, and it's a positive for them. But you can also look at the Rangers and kind of spin it as a positive for the next year and just be like, that's not what this team is. That team is not, what they finished last year?
Well, again, it's very, very hard to go back to back. And I actually I was right on them last year. I said they weren't going to be able to sustain. They hit their way to the World Series. Teddy, this lineup,
78 and 84. They were 6 games under 500. That's not going to happen again.
This lineup rakes.
And the lineup is so See, this is the kind of lineup that when you're looking at, you don't see a hole. This is just the projected lineup. Simeon, Seager, Langford, Peterson, Garcia, Young, Carter, Berger, Heim. This is such a solid team.
I agree
with you. This is a team I'm excited to watch.
Me too. I love all the Ranger stock.
Yeah, absolutely. I think their pitching is even exciting to watch. DeGrom. I want to see DeGrom kind of reach that level with the Rangers. And
unfortunately, at this point, it's kind of almost like when, not if, which is sad. Hopefully, it's not true. But yeah, to get back to the lineup really quickly.
Since he signed, it's just been, you want to talk about injuries. He can't stay healthy for the life of him with them. But go back to the lineup.
Simeon, he had a little bit of a down year. I believe in him still to hit. Simeon, Seager.
Absolutely.
Name me a better up the middle infield.
I love Corey Seager.
Wyatt Langford, we're talking about potentially on the roster, Rookie of the Year last year, and this and that. He's insane.
Yeah, he's turned into one of the better hitters easily.
Yeah, love the addition of Jock. Okay, I know you don't like platoons near the top of the lineup, but they do it right.
Well, Jock is one of those examples that is a fantastic platoon to have because he's so good, but only against righties.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
A counterpoint, he doesn't even hardly face lefties anymore. So
because of how good he is against righties.
Yeah. Adolis Garcia, disappointed him last year. He probably would be,
Yeah.
especially after the postseason, how he was just pimping balls everywhere. Josh Young, we got the talent. Evan Carter. Evan
Carter.
He had as much, if not more, hype than Wyatt Langford last year. I'm pretty sure he was my pick.
He had more hype. Yeah, absolutely. Especially because of the postseason.
Yeah, Jake Berger, he can hit.
Them getting Jake Berger is so underrated in my mind because
Hey,
he was one of the only bright spots that the Marlins even had.
Hey, go play first base and hit the bottom of the lineup, Jake. And you got Jonah Heim behind you.
I love Jonah Heim. Love switching catchers.
One day we need to have a conversation about there's no respect for Jonah.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Yeah, don't love the rotation. I like it. Their team is based on hitting and staying in games. They have some good pitchers. I think we'll see if I'm predicting the full season. Deadline time, they make a move. Or, Teddy, do you know the minor league pitchers they have that we kind of forgot about because of how weird the draft shaked out and they ended up with both of them? Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter.
Jack Leiter, yeah.
Back-to-back years. Top 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm old school with this. Elite pitchers are going to find a way. One of them got to hit, right?
Right. And another thing is, and this even goes back to like the whole great prospects don't pan out all the time. If anything, with baseball, most of the time they don't. But like you said, one of them's got to hit. And if they both hit, even better. Nathan Eovaldi, he's a good pitcher. I mean, he just is a good pitcher. I think he'd be a really good 2. But not having that solidified ace does hurt them a little bit. It's
why they're not a top 3-5 team.
We want to assume health, but with certain players, it becomes very hard. DeGrom's one of them. You know, we would love to see him reach his full potential, especially in a Rangers uniform. And we just haven't been able to see that yet. But yeah, if their pitching was better, this team, I mean, this would be such a dangerous team because that lineup is so good, man.
Teddy,
it's
I know
so good.
We got a lot to discuss, but I want to ask you something. How tough? Obviously, he's rich beyond all comprehension, and he kind of gets viewed amazingly because he's been injured. And when we've seen him his best, he's one of the best we've ever seen. How tough do you think it is for DeGrom mentally just to know the only thing stopping me from literally being considered one of the best to ever do it is health?
I mean, it has to be tough, right? Because, you know, it's the same thing with along with baseball, we look at ALS. Lou Gehrig's, I got an uncle with ALS. It's like, obviously this is going to be a wild comparison, but when you have it, your mind is so it's all there, completely normal, but your body's just not responding. With DeGrom, he's such a cerebral pitcher, and he has all the physical capabilities of being a fantastic pitcher, but his body just won't let him play. It won't let him stay healthy. It won't let him actually go out on the mound, 15, 20 starts a season and actually pitch. It's tough. It has to suck for him. Again, obviously he's rich beyond all comprehension and everything and yada, yada, yada. But for him and a competitor like him, it has to suck, man. Because all he wants to do, I guarantee it, is just go out there, pitch, and it has to suck for him to just watch his team play.
Remember when he was pitching for the Mets and how many games they would lose by just not scoring?
Yeah. I mean, he had so many games again, he is on this team that can basically do nothing but score.
Whoa,
and
dude.
He can be such a huge piece at helping them win games.
It's hard for me to think.
On his best day, he is still going to be a shutout pitcher.
It's hard for me to think he's going to be healthy and be pitching in the postseason if he starts the season like he's going to. But Teddy, I mean, there is a part of me that's like, well, maybe. Right. I don't know. Crazier things have happened.
The optimist side of us, sure.
And I still fully believe he's just as good as he will. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Number 6, we have the Atlanta Braves. Did you want to start on this? And do you want me to reveal the rankings to everyone? Because you kind of wanted them to be shown, right?
I wish they would have been 10th or 5th just for the purpose of the lifts. I said it. It's nice to have engagement of when you have any team make the final spot or make the end of it. That's fine. I went and watched this team last year, Teddy, against the Reds in a series. And this was July, towards the end of July. So you still had, a week of July left and all of August and all of September.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy, half the lineup were guys that, I had zero fear of. And the Reds killed them, and Hunter Green shut them absolutely down. But my point is, this Braves team last year is not going to be what we're going to see this year from a lineup perspective. However, a lot of these guys were hurt last year, including
the biggest player.
Yes, who I mean, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with the fact that Acuna is, regardless how you feel about him, and like, he's not my favorite player. I'll be honest. Sorry, Braves fans. If you hear me say negative things, it's not because he's not a good baseball player. It's just whatever. I'm not getting into the whole Freddie Freeman, Acuna, whatever. Who won the World Series? The Braves whenever Acuna wasn't there. Sorry, I'm not a hater. I swear on my life, I'm not a hater. Jurickson Profar, possibly a great addition. Dude is gonna be
He
really
is a
good.
great addition. Yeah, I think that is a great addition.
He's kind of like perfect for them.
Yeah.
Austin Riley, one of my favorite
Nice.
third basemen in the league, my favorite Brave on the team.
Yeah, stud.
Matt Olson, also Matt
So
Olson,
good.
fun fact, wouldn't have played, but the game got rained out, and so the game I was at, I'm pretty sure, but he ended up playing the next day because he was able to be back and played 162 games last year, healthy, solid beast. We got the younger Freddie
Yes.
Freeman. Freddie Freeman hit a home run in basically every single game in the World Series. Marcell Ozuna hits
Way better baseball player than
very
he is in
well,
person.
hits the ball very well. Let me clarify. Michael Michael Harris, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if he's the most underrated player in the league. I don't know where this
He
guy
might
came
be.
from. There's very few players I'm like, oh, okay, we'll see. And he's just immediately good. Ozzy, you know how I feel about Ozzy. I still believe in him fully.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing at short. I guess Arcia's job to lose, but kind of a weak spot. They get Kelnick from the Mariners. He's, decent, batting in the bottom of your lineup. I don't know what they're doing at the catcher position either. So
Well,
again,
the catcher, I'm pretty sure they're just going to run out this prospect that they're super, super high
Drake.
on, Drake Baldwin.
All right.
Yeah. Not a great year for Drake's, but yeah, we'll see. It's, again,
Poor Baldwins, to be honest.
I'll let you finish because I got,
No,
this is my division, so.
When you think of the Braves, sorry, I should have let you go first. That's on me.
No, you're good.
When you think of the Braves, you think like full lineup, but when you really look at it, it's kind of similar to some teams that we've criticized of you trust first 5, 6, and then maybe you'll have somebody come through. The difference is you have Chris Sale, who I'm not calling him a coward, but I was supposed to see him pitch live and he backed out and then pitched the rest of the year until it was the biggest game of the season and he couldn't be available. Lopez Fallenbach, who that's one of those illegal things the Braves have done where it's just like, hey, we don't really care if you're a pitcher or not. You're going to be great. And he is.
Yeah.
Grant Holmes, Ian Anderson, that's who they got the bottom rotation.
Strider's going to be back.
Yeah. And then obviously you have, we joke about with Robbie Ray, like Spencer Strider might be the greatest strikeout pitcher literally of all time.
He's so good.
And he's been dominant with 2 pitches, Teddy. He has a 3rd pitch now for the record. Their bullpen good. I don't love their bullpen. If I had to, point out weaknesses,
that's fair. Iglesias is still phenomenal.
They are a professional organization every way. I want to speak personally also, going on a tour with them, the staff there, and seeing all the facilities. They're a professional organization. They take care of their players. Well, besides like hypnotizing and the bad deals. But besides that, they're really, well, only certain types of players. Anyways, I think that maybe I'm just kind of like not a fan of them. Maybe. Am I too harsh on the Braves to think they're not for sure a top 5 team? Maybe. I think they're the 3rd team in the division. I'll go ahead and say that. That's not against them. We have them as a top 10 team. We have them, what, 6?
We have them 6.
So, I mean, that's not like super disrespectful for a team that kind of was really bad last year. Again, you can assume health, whatever. I know Braves are a very local team for people to cheer for, and I'm slightly joking with some of the things I'm saying, obviously making little pokes, but I don't know. I don't see the Braves winning the World Series this year. I can't visualize that in any way. I can see that for some of the teams we've already even talked about. They're going to be extremely good for a long time. I just think that this is not the current setup for what they're going to do. However, when they win the World Series, may trade for Jorge Soler middle of the season whenever Acuna's out. I also didn't think they were going to win the World Series. Maybe they proved me wrong, but yeah, I'm not super high on the Braves this year.
Yeah, I wish that was true. I'll just say that. I wish that was true. As a Phillies fan, I have been burned by the Braves over and over and over and over again. Last year felt like a good piece of revenge with, finally taking that pennant back, winning the division. I thought with Acuna going down and Strider going down pretty early, that it'd be more in hand. That's not the case. The Braves, you said they had a down year. They won 89 games. They were in the race for that division, even that last month, like towards the end, are just such a, what you were saying about such a well-ran franchise, that's exactly right. They are. You're talking about how it's not even fair about Schwellenbach. Yeah, of course it's not fair. It's never fair at the Braves. They always just have these players that just pan out. Like I don't know, man. It's one of those things that like Drake Baldwin. Who? Great. He's going to be phenomenal. I already know it. He's going to be one of the best catchers in baseball. That's just how the Braves operate. He's going to be one of the best catchers in baseball. They're going to sign him to a 15-year, $20 million deal. Like, just absolute robbery somehow. And he's just going to be there and torture me for forever.
Yeah,
That's just the Braves.
Again,
that's just the Braves mantra. And Jurickson Profar fits a huge hole for them. He's going to be phenomenal. Again, you have Acuna coming back. You have Strider coming back. They're going to be better this year than they were last year. That's just a fact. And they won 89 games. So it's like, how many games do they win this year? I have them second in the division. I believe they are either 1 or 2. I can't see them finishing third, to be completely honest with you.
All right.
And maybe that's disrespectful to the Mets, but
We'll get to them.
It's also just the Braves. I've been burned by the Braves way too many times to not only just write them off, which I'm not saying that you're doing at all, but to not write them off, but also to be scared of them.
Yeah.
Like,
We
just
have
being honest.
Team worst and 6. That's fair, and you're showing respect. I respect that. Hey, go listen to my Brewers take if you haven't. I'll put the clip in this. Teddy, Sean Murphy adds a little layer to the lineup. I think he's out like a month.
Yeah.
Maybe it sounded very harsh, but again, as we get higher and higher, we're only putting out the negatives we see of these teams, basically. Do not think that we're saying, well, you were very respectful. Do not think I'm intentionally being disrespectful. It's just, I don't see the Braves winning the World Series this year, and that shouldn't be so offensive, except if you're a Braves fan. And then,
I mean, there's not a weak point in their top 7. And then even after you get past their top 7, when you're looking at their other 2, you're looking at guys that can still swing it. And would be guys that we see 5th or 6th on these other teams that we have in the top 10 as well. It is just such an all-around complete team, besides bullpen. But in terms of just their bats, it's just so complete, and it's a scary lineup. It is. Luckily, we, the Phillies, have such good pitching because we're going to need every bit of it because this is a scary lineup. And again, their rotation is really good. Bullpen's not great, but... Yeah. Are they even going to have to use their bullpen with their pitching? Like,
yes,
it just, yeah.
I mean, they hit home runs too, but
maybe. I just am so burned by the Braves that I can't even pretend that they don't scare me still.
That's fine. Look, I'm not going to sit here and try to just trash the Braves, but like you're talking about, Ozzie 303 on base, Michael Harris 304. I mean, even Austin Riley 322. Like, I don't know.
Yep. That's the Braves. A lot of you sicko Braves fans probably enjoyed that, but moving on.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, they probably hate me more than you after that.
That is true. I mean, you have them 10th, I have them 4th, so there is definitely still a gap there. I mean, I can do it with this next one too. I've been doing it with like all of them.
I'm just kidding.
5th, so going into our top 5, we have the New York Mets. So we have them 2nd in our power rankings. You have them 2nd. I have them 3rd. You have them 5. I have them 7. So we both still have them top 17. They do kind of sit where you originally had them. So I would like for you to talk about the Mets.
Yeah, and I won't be as long here. Look, the Mets, what they've done the second half of last season, it was magical in every way. Mm-hmm. Except for the fact that magic isn't real, and it was real. And this team is real. Teddy, Lindor, and Pete Alonso both back. And now in the middle of that sandwich of a top 3 is Juan Soto, one of the absolute best players in baseball, one of the best batters and approaches. And I know you hate his little shuffle, but it makes people so mad. Nemo's got to be a little better. I don't love that they have Jesse Winker. It doesn't seem like he should be a Met ever, especially the fights they've had. I think Jose Siri is a solid piece for them. Jeff McNeil, he's a baseball player. Oh, I skipped Mark Vientos, who... he's projected for 3.5 WAR, which is like, so he's just a third baseman that's a plus player. But Teddy, you know what I haven't discussed yet? The only part of their team that I think could be very concerning for them, and maybe it's why you trust the Braves more, their starting pitching rotation.
Yeah. Yuck.
They have Frankie Montas, shouts out, Sean Manaea, and Christian Scott, all injured. I don't know how.
Christian Scott's just out for the year, right?
Yeah, because he had time like last year. So what do? How do they supplement that? How do they piece it together? They have Kodai Senga, who's a good pitcher, and we'll see how good he can really be.
Good, not great.
Their pitching is a concern. I like their bullpen way better than their starters.
Bullpen's okay.
But even then, it's just this lineup. I I don't know. May looking too much in the second half of last year. I don't know. Tell me why I'm wrong about having the Mets fifth.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
you hate the Cardinals. I hate the Mets.
Okay.
The Braves are something that just eat away my dreams. They're like a little nightmare, and I can't get rid of it. It's like a little, annoying little pestering that I have on my shoulder at all times. Nets are nothing but just a little dust off. Okay?
Okay.
Forget about the postseason series, whatever. That happened. Good for them. Good to them. Clap, clap, clap. I don't care. It's the Mets. Jokes. Like, fine. They had that postseason run. Now they add Soto. Do they make it out of the wild card round? I don't think so. It's the Mets. Like, I don't know what else to really say about the Mets. They don't scare me at all. They can add Soto all they want to. I know that he's a great player. That's fine. Like you said, their pitching is not great. I look at their lineup and it's very uninspiring past those top five. None of that moves the needle. Their bullpen, none of that moves the needle. It's like, I still have them seventh because I think that Soto is that big of a piece. I think that they can, especially at the start of the year, they will build off the momentum that they had from their postseason run because it did feel magical because they weren't expected to be there and they shouldn't have been. But realistically, over the course of the season, they're not a worry for me. They're not.
And
I'm way more worried about the Braves. I think it is a two-team race at the top with the Braves and the Phillies. I think the Mets are kind of just going to be sticking around, being that pesky little brother that they are, and just be third. Like, that's the Mets to me, to be honest with you.
hey, I'm not going to tell you who to hate and not hate. You admitted you hated them from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
One slight respect.
And I'll be very biased against it. I'll be very upfront about my bias, but that's just, and NL East is my division of how they've always felt. It's always felt like like the Braves and Phillies were like the teams battling, and then the Mets kind of just like, well, we're here too. Again, it can sound like sour grapes coming from the postseason series, but
You've always felt this way about the Mets. I will attest to that. Even like before any kind of other fandoms existed, you hated.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about way franchises are ran, and you can talk about how well the Braves franchises ran. The Mets is just, this is the statement they have.
New leadership now. They finally get a player to sign with him over the Yankees. There's some positives. Lindor is one of the best.
More money
in our lifetime. He's very good.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Again, the top three, very dangerous. Top five, that is a scary little top five. Yeah. I mean, when you're looking at these Winker, Siri, McNeil, Torrens, bleh.
Hey, you know what can happen? Acuna can play for them, brother. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so moving on to number 4. This is our second team in the AL East. We have the Baltimore Orioles. So you have them 6, I have them 5. The Orioles, they're kind of like, at least they're like my little baby. I love the Orioles. I love so many players on their team. We've kind of talked about this just on the phone earlier because even when we're not recording, we're still just talking baseball the whole time. Daniel Henderson, to me, is one of the best players in the majors. He just is. I think that, like, Shohei just is a different conversation. He's almost getting the LeBron treatment of just exclude him from all conversation when you're just trying to talk about the best players. Gunnar is in that conversation, and he, to me, is one of the leaders of the pack. He's so phenomenal. I think Adley, again, love switching catchers. He's one of the best catchers, if not the best catcher in baseball. Like, he is. I love him so much. And then, do you see who Fangraphs has projected to be in the 3 hole for them?
Yeah, I think this matches up with everything from the offseason. They've been promoting him on all their social medias and saying, hey, we don't have intentions of getting rid of him.
I love that, too.
He's just not. What happened last year is he batted at the bottom of the lineup against lefties. Now he's just maybe not going to play against lefties.
He's only going to play against righties, which I think that's good for him. Okay, for those who don't know, we're talking about Cedric Mullins.
Roll Hops, baby!
Roll Hops.
The original.
That's right. We both went to Campbell. Love Cedric. I love him so much. I think, if there is a year for him, it has to be this year. And call me an optimist, I think it will happen. I'm excited about him this year. I mean, this team, they just keep getting young studs that just perform. Westberg, Kowser, and I want to see it with Jackson Holiday. Please, I want to see it with Jackson Holiday. I want him to be good. I believe that he will be very good. And I think this year is one of those years that can be a jumping off point for him.
I agree with you, but I he was so bad. It might just be a couple years later than we thought.
Yeah, but I still have a lot of faith in him. If you want to talk about one of the most underrated pickups for any team, I think them getting Tyler O'Neill is huge. I just think he slots in and he is going to be just a stud out and left. I really do. The Fangraphs only has him projected as a 2.4 WAR player. I have him higher than that. I do think that
Yeah,
he's going to be a difference maker for this team. He's entering the prime of his career right now at 29. I think that he's going to be phenomenal. And your boy signed with him as well, Gary
let's go,
Sanchez.
Gary. Yeah,
But yeah,
I want to talk about lineup real quick before you get the pitching. I echo what you said. I think Adley has a better year this year. A little down from his great start.
right.
O'Neill, hey, you know what, man? We'll make left field even a little smaller for you. Okay, we'll bring it in a little bit.
Thank God. That was my worst. That was the worst thing that they've ever done is move that
I like
stupid
it.
wall back. I hated that.
Hey, O'Neill, go bat 6 and just hit fastballs. Just hit.
Uh-huh.
Ryan O'Hearn, pretty good. They did lose Santander, but they're going to mix around Mountcastle a little bit at first as well. I mean, I'm glad to see Jackson Holiday in this starting lineup, but just let him play. Let him go play ball. It's in his DNA, literally. Yeah, I think this is a lineup that if what we're saying is true, that Jackson is at least a MLB hitter. I mean, what do you do with this lineup?
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you want to go into the pitching, I don't hate their pitching. I really don't. I think that, Grayson Rodriguez he's going to be healthy at some point. And he's going to be pitching. And I have very high hope for him. He's just such a good young pitcher. I love that. I think Eflin is a really good pitcher too. So as a number 2, I think he's going to be phenomenal. And then they have a Japanese free agent that has not been talked about at all that I've only been seeing good things about. And it's Tomoyuki Sugano.
I have a fun stat about him I want to share.
Okay, please do. Because
Also,
it's fascinating to have a pitcher come from Japan. And typically when you think of it, you're thinking like they're in their like maybe mid-20s, something, like ready to take that next step. I mean, he's 35 years old. It's kind of crazy, but I've only seen great things about him. So go ahead with your stat, because I am interested.
Really quick on the Grayson Rodriguez thing. I mean, he's only about a couple weeks. He should be fine, but it is a little concerning that he is having some inflammation. But hey, no spoilers, but I still fully believe it. I have him to be the best pitcher in the American League, which, whatever. This is a pretty simple stat, and it's obvious. But Teddy, there is a realistic world that he is the youngest rookie or the oldest rookie of the year ever.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know.
That is crazy. I mean, he's 35. It's like, you never think of a 35-year-old being that player to come from Japan. And yeah.
I guess if you want to argue anything, just like stamina, like, is he going to be able to adjust? Because sometimes but I am to the point of like, I'm believing.
Typically Japanese pitchers adjust really well to the MLB.
I just meant that he's
very well. Right.
35 years old. MLB might not always adjust to go in 7, 8 innings, but you don't have to.
Right.
Talk to me about the bullpen, Teddy.
So the bullpen, that definitely can make or break a team. And I think for the Orioles, it kind of makes them. I like their bullpen. I do. I like Felix Bautista, obviously. He's one of the best closers in baseball. He's such a stud. There is some Philly, connections in here with Gregory Soto and Sir Anthony Dominguez. I like both of them. I still believe in them. I would have hate to see them. They make the Phillies bullpen right now as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the players they are. Keegan Aiken, Yenier Cano, Albert Suarez, he's going to be I think that this bullpen has potential to be a really good bullpen. And so when you look at it, you don't really see holes in this team. You like the lineup, you like the starters, you like the bullpen. I like the team. Obviously, that's going to be the same case for all these teams that we have up here, but that's just the Orioles.
Yeah, and these bullpen guys, Suarez, Teddy, and I know it's partly because, again, he comes from another KBO league player. I mean, Teddy, do you see the innings he threw last year?
I have to look.
If you switch to the 2024 stats on that little bar pull down, you can see. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Am I reading this right? He threw 133?
Oh, you're reading it right.
What?
I mean, that's insane usage out of a reliever.
That makes no sense. That actually makes...
It's insane usage out of a reliever.
Yeah. Don't fact check.
33 and 2/3 innings.
So...
And for a reliever that's getting that much usage, looking at that ERA plus as a 101.
Yeah, and Bautista, I think, was the biggest reason I didn't fully commit to him last year because he was out for the year. It seems like early on they're going to ease him in. They said, for the first part of the season, not going to pitch back to backs, but he's going to be fine. They're going to be fine. Yeah. This team's going to win
100%.
a ton of baseball games, going to win a ton of series, and I'm so happy to know Cedric's getting the chance. I was worried he'd be odd man out. They believe in him. They love him. I love him. Probably legitimately my favorite player in the MLB.
Agreed.
He's the best, and this team is very, very good. And Teddy, I want to ask you this, and we'll get to it in a second. Would you, or are you going to switch them to be your division winner based on the unfortunate news?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I will personally. Obviously, with the power rankings, we're not going to go back on it. But yeah, I definitely view them as the favorites to win that division. Totally.
Okay. Yeah, I can tell you what the actual things say now. But yeah.
Moving on. Number 3, we have my Philadelphia Phillies. If you don't mind, I'm going to take the floor on this one.
I will say very little.
And listen, we're already an hour and a half in, past an hour and a half even. So I don't want to spend too much time on them.
Dude, it's fine.
You're going to...
They're here.
Everyone is going to hear me talk so much about the Phillies throughout the year that they might even get tired of hearing me about the Phillies. Yes.
Teddy, listen, give your full recap, because more people might even see your clip of them talking about it than make it the episode. So don't hold back, brother.
Fair. Well, let's start with this rotation, because rotation top to bottom. Can you tell me about a rotation top to bottom? Okay, I'll give you the Mariners. I
was going to say, can they be the best starting pitching rotation for the second year in a row like they were last year? Yes.
Absolutely, because they added. They got Jesus Luzardo. He's going to be our number 5. I mean, so happy, so excited for that. Obviously, Zach Wheeler, we'll get into that. I have him as my Cy Young winner for the NL. Could it be biased? Absolutely, it could be. I will never shy away from saying that my love and feelings towards the Phillies could be biased, so no one can use that as a slight against me.
Zach Wheeler's a horrible. I'll shut up. Sorry.
Christopher Sanchez he's such a stud. I think that Ranger Suarez, the way that he started last year, if he can build upon that going into this year, that'll be great. I think monitoring his innings some, which will help since we have a solidified 5 now. That'll only improve and go up from there. Because I think he just ran out of steam, but Christopher Sanchez has kind of taken over that Ranger role and is being that, that beauty to Zach Wheeler that Aaron Nola's kind of stepped back from a little bit. And Christopher Sanchez he's good, man.
Yes.
He's so good. He is someone that basically came from nowhere and just has taken over and has just become, again, this might be biased, but he could be aces on 10 teams. He could be the ace on about 10 teams. He's so good. Aaron Nola, he's been our long-term pitcher. We've had him his entire career. I love him so much. His career even had a little resurgence last year, and I'd love to see him build upon that. I think it helps not having that kind of expectation put on him to be the ace, to be the leader, to be the one guy in the rotation. And because Zach Wheeler is obviously taking over that. Zach Wheeler is just phenomenal. He's incredible. I can't say enough nice things about him. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I love Zach Wheeler so much. Let's move on to the bullpen, because the bullpen was something that was a very sore spot last year. I did not like a lot of the pieces in our bullpen. Or Brogdon. Never mind. I was going to say something mean, but we're being positive. We're being nice. You know how I feel about Tom Brogdon. There was many words exchanged about him early on in the year. He's traded. He's gone. That's great. We lost Jeff Hoffman. Let's start there. He's a very good pitcher, and it sucks to lose him. He's very good. But, I think Jordan Romano fills in that same exact role. I think that while it is unfortunate we lost Hoffman, I think Romano steps in and does the exact same job for us. So it's like, it sucks to lose that guy, but we replaced him. There's no disrespect to Hoffman. I think Ryan Kerkering is a budding, superstar when it comes to relief pitcher. Relief pitchers don't really get a lot of shine. They don't, get that label as star or superstar, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Kerkering is as close as you're going to get. He's 23 years old. He's phenomenal. He has nasty stuff. People even talk about that little sweeper that he throws. They call it the unicorn pitch because no one's moves as much as his. It's insane. And just going off of that, he is able to mix his pitches so well. He's such a great pitcher. I love him. He's going to take a bigger role this year. We're going to see him more often. Jose Alvarado is just consistency. at its finest. I mean, he's been a mainstay in our bullpen for like 4 years now, and he is just continuously a really good lefty that can throw hard, coming in to late game situations, and always like sets us up for success. Love him, love him, love him. Tanner Banks. I'm excited to see Tanner Banks like kind of fully unlocked in our bullpen. I think he's going to be really good. Obviously, we have Matt Strom, who is in the bullpen, who is phenomenal. Honestly, I kind of hate that I even waited this long to talk about him. He's a lefty that is phenomenal and pretty much everything that he does. I trust him so much. I see him coming into the game. I get excited. There's some guys that, are coming into the game that you see starting to take the mound. Taijuan Walker, I hate you. Matt Strom is one of those guys. I get excited to see him come in because I know that he's going to be a shutdown. I know I can trust him. Because here, talk about this lineup, Zackery. I have, minus whenever we made a lot of moves before the 2022 season to bring in a lot of guys, I have never been more excited for a season when it comes to lineup than this year. Trey Turner is solidified, just stud. I love Trey Turner so much. He is so good. I'm expecting a better year from here than this year, obviously, but he's projected to be the leadoff hitter, and Kyle Schwarber kind of taking that role back to clean up. And I think it's going to be a really good, kind of switch of the lineup, switch of the pace, getting Trey Turner more at bats and getting him on base more often. That's going to be great for us. They've already made it a point that he's going to run more this year, which I want to see. It doesn't make a lot of sense that, we're kind of pumping the brakes on one of the fastest guys in the league, but we're going to finally see him unlocked. Then you got Bryce Harper, who is just, he's an MVP candidate year in, year out. He's one of my favorite players. He has changed my life for the better. I love Bryce Harper so much. He is just the guy. He's so good. You can't really pick out one thing that he does well because he does everything well. And his swing is so smooth. I love watching him play baseball. And I love his obsession with Philadelphia too. As a Philadelphia fan, with every sport, seeing his just obsession with Philadelphia is just so, it gets me so pumped. He literally got a Philly fanatic tattoo. That's insane. He literally got it, right here on his wrist, very visible. Love him, love him, love him. Alec Bohm is someone that, there's a lot of trade talks this offseason. I'm interested to see how he responds to that because he had finally his breakout year last year. He was such a high-rated prospect for us for years. I think he was the 3rd overall pick back in 2018, and he finally had his breakout year whenever he was 28? It's been a long time coming. We've been waiting for Alec Bohm to show up. He finally showed up. He did tail off towards the end and everything, but that happens. It's baseball. It's 162 games. It's hard to be great for, the first 9, the first 80 versus the last 80. It just is. But I'm excited to see what he does this year. I'm excited to see how he responds to the trade talks and how the Phillies were not really shopping him, but kind of shopping him, throwing him into some trade talks. So I hope he responds well. I think he has the mentality for it. So I'm excited to see that. Kyle Schwarber just gets tanks. It's exciting to watch him play. I think moving him to that 4th spot, the cleanup spot, is going to be a positive for him, even though he was a good leadoff hitter. I think the most career leadoff home runs. Is that wrong?
That has to be right.
Yeah, I think so. So it is going to be a little weird not having him lead off, but I think at this stage, it is going to be a good move. And they've already said that, if it's not really panning out, because this is to get Trey, more time leading off, get Bryce Harper more bats by having him second. Alec Bohm moving up the lineup will help because Bohm is such a good player. I'm excited to see Kyle Schwarber in this new role. Nick Castellanos, he was someone I was MFing early on. I just was. But 162 games started last year. Just, while he's not a great outfielder, he does make some plays out there. It's kind of surprising. I'd have to see if he is. He might still be a negative fielder, but his bat, he can still swing it. He's getting old, but he can still swing it some. Yeah, I'm hoping to see some more. I think that is definitely the spot that we would be looking to replace if we were to add. It looks likely that they would want to move Bryce back to the outfield and right field and bring in a first baseman, but we'll see. That's just all talk right now. But do you see who is 6th in this projected lineup?
Yes. The glass man. Sorry.
Max Kepler. If there was one player that this Phillies team could like add that just is so Teddy, it would be Max Kepler. I love Max Kepler so much. He's been one of my favorite players for like a few years now. I mean, I'm just, even when he was with the Twins, it was like an obsession. I could watch almost every Twins game just to watch him at. I love him so much. It seems almost still surreal that we signed him and he's going to be our everyday left fielder. And I get to watch him in the Phillies uniform. It's just, it's such a perfect marriage for me that it still doesn't feel real to me. I'm so excited to see him play. He is one of those guys that you could see platoon. He's not going to platoon. He's going to be our everyday left fielder. But you could see him platoon just because of how good his splits are against righties versus his splits against lefties. But yeah, JT, I mean, JT is, while at one time he was the best catcher in baseball, he's obviously no longer that. I would like to see his bat improve. I think a lot of his clutch has just left him. He was one of the poorest bats with runners in scoring position last year. It just was not great. Fielding wise, he's still very good behind the dish. Obviously, you want him to not catch as much because you want him to be healthy and to stay, especially with our backup catcher being like a position that we're still not even sure who it's going to be right now. Looks likely to be Marshawn, but it could still be Stubbs. Hopefully it's Marshawn. But yeah, JT, I just want to see more from him. But I think I can. He's still a great vet to have. Really excited. Bryson Stott, he's going to have a bounce back. Mark my words, he will have a bounce back year. Last year was not Bryson Stott. The year before was. I'm very excited about Bryson Stott. I love Bryson Stott. I think, there was one guy on this team to marry my daughter, it'd be Bryson Stott. I love him. Everything's going to be A-okay, baby. He is so great. I love him. Stud. And then we get to center field, which some people view as a weakness. I view this as one of our greatest strengths. We get to platoon these two young studs who are great fielders, who their splits, even Rojas, who obviously his batting is not what you would really want it to be. Like, it's just such a perfect platoon. You were saying I'm a big fan of platoons. I am when it's towards the bottom of the lineup. And this is a perfect example of a platoon working. Like, obviously, we still have to see it. But just assuming that it's going to work based off of my feelings that, like, Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas, platooning with one another is going to be such a great thing for this team. I'm so excited to see it. I mean, yeah, everything about this team excites me. It's the window might be on its way closing. It might, we have some older stars, contracts may be running out soon, but we have a owner who's willing to spend, a GM who knows baseball. He does it well, and he is able to bring these guys in. Bryce Harper wants to retire here, like live Philly for the rest. Like, he's even talking about trying to extend his contract into his 40s. Like, and his contract's still not going to run out until he's like 39. Like, he's like, please let me play here forever. Like, as long as his body can allow him. Like, we have guys here that can be those like setting stones. So I don't want to say the window is closing, but with this core group, it might be closing. So there is some of that worry that I want to chip, obviously, my lifetime, 2008 was last time. And, yeah, it's just, we'll see. I'm very high on them this year. Obviously the Braves are still always going to be a worry for me, but there's no reason why we can't get the second division in a row, stamp the NL East as ours, and just improve on last season and how horribly it ended. Yeah, that is my Phillies talk. Go Phils. I bleed the red for the Phillies. I love them so much. Cannot wait for the season to get underway.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. It was very hard for me to not interrupt. I did a bad job at first.
You did great. You did great.
I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I love so many players in this lineup. Really quick, Teddy. Again, one of these lineups that right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right.
We have so many lefties, yeah.
It's so good, and I don't think we realize how valuable that is. To mix and match.
Yeah.
Another fun fact, Teddy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the starting people are first round picks, which is just like pedigree of baseball. Like, works out, sign them, move them.
Yeah, Dombrowski is just,
I know this isn't completely true because you probably would change some things. I don't know how people to understand this, and hopefully when y'all listen years and years from now, it'll make a little more sense. This is, if you took over the Phillies on MLB The Show right now, franchise, this is how you would have set the lineup. This is how we would have made teams in the past. This is a more conventional look than we're used to seeing from the Phillies when you have Schwarber. Also, the right-left you would have done, you would have platooned the center fielders. I just kept thinking, like, I think you're being a little, I don't know if this makes sense, a little humble as a fan of, like, saying respect to the Braves, or, you know, you were a little worried of, like, do I have the Phillies ranked way too high? And I'm like, no, dude, this is one of the best lineups in the league and one of the best rotations in the league together.
Yeah, because full transparency, I didn't say it. I do have them second.
Yeah, and I have them, what, third?
Yeah.
And maybe second now, but I love this roster. I was way longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I love this roster, and it's where, like, if we're tiering teams, which eventually we will kind of do a little bit of that, they're tier one. If there's more than one team in tier one.
Yeah.
All right,
I agree. So we can move on from them. Again, the people are going to be hearing me talk about the Phillies all the time anyway. So
yeah,
we can move on.
Flips.
So number 2, because we are getting approaching 2 hours here. Jeez.
Yeah.
Number 2, we have the New York Yankees. So the Yankees, the big news coming out, obviously, is that Garrett Cole has gone for a second opinion, has been told that he needs Tommy John, so he is going with Tommy John. That, but when we were drafting the teams, we kind of said, oh yeah, he's just getting checked on, like it's probably nothing. Well, it was something, especially the biggest thing for a pitcher, Tommy John surgery. So he's out for the year, obviously. That is going to be a big miss in this team. Obviously, you have Max Fried coming in, who looks slated to be their ace for this year now, with Cole leaving, which is not a bad ace to have, by the way, at all. I think, you know, Nestor Cortez still could have really found his place here in this rotation if they still had him, but the rotation definitely looks weaker. It just does. When you're missing a player like Garrett Cole's pedigree, you expect to have him all season. That is going to hurt. So their rotation does not inspire me a lot, but their bullpen is really good. You know, Devin Williams is going to be someone that is kind of like that underrated move to bring in. Did he shave? He shaved already, right? Before they got rid of that rule?
I don't know. He made them change literally the most historical thing in all their franchise. Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah. But when we're talking about the Yankees, we're not talking about the pitching. Let's be honest.
I'll talk about the pitching really quick. Max Fried.
Go ahead.
Carlos Rodon. You know how much I've always loved Carlos Rodon.
I've always loved him.
Literally since NC State. Saw him pitching in college. Obsessed with the guy. I think I trust him. Stroman's going to eat some innings, but again, the loss of Cole is big because now your 4 or 5 is so much different, and everybody gets pushed up.
Well, even the 3, because I think Stroman and Schmidt, when you're looking at them as a 4 or 5, you don't hate it. But then when you're looking at them as 3, 4, you're kind of like, ah.
I mean, you still got Louis Gill, who is going to be fine, I'm pretty sure, who is a very good pitcher as well. So they have a good starting pitching rotation. They do not have the Garrett Cole elite. I know the numbers don't match how I feel about this. I love this bullpen, Teddy.
Well, I mean, the numbers, I would say the numbers do match. You have them second, and I have them third.
No, I'm saying like their numbers of the players in this bullpen don't match how I feel. Tim Hill, Ian Hamilton, Fernando Cruz, good luck hitting that splitter. Oh my gosh, dude. Luke Weaver, Devin Williams. They have a shortage of lefties in the pen. They have 2. You know, Stanton may be out for the year. I don't know if DJ LeMahieu even plays baseball anymore. Again, you lost Garrett Cole. But Teddy, tell them what we're here for. Tell them why this team is even a top 5 team.
Well, it's the lineup. I mean, you have Aaron Judge, who he's MVP talks every year. He's at the top of the list. Whenever you're looking at the MVP odds, I'm not a betting man, so I don't know. I don't even know what the odds are. I'm making the assumption that he has the best odds for AL MVP.
That's correct.
I'm making the assumption that he has the best odds for AL home run leader.
That is correct.
Like, he is so dominant, and it's kind of crazy that his entire career, he's been at that level of just, like, he's the guy with the Yankees. He's just so good.
The Yankees hitters are getting mad. I got to speak for him. In the playoffs, he's been abysmal compared to how he's normally been.
It's true. But, I mean,
I just got to speak for the Yankees.
This is regular season we're talking about. Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt are both additions that have had better years in their career. I mean, Cody Bellinger's still young. It's kind of weird, his career trajectory right now and how that's gone. There's still all that potential in the world for him, but it's just not been realized yet. Paul Goldschmidt obviously is old. Maybe he can recapture a little of that. We'll see. But that being kind of like the heart of the lineup with Jazz, who, by the way, pretty good year last year with the Yankees. He really showed up and showed out with them. So it's exciting to see him there as well. That's a pretty decent heart of the lineup. Anthony Volpe is still a young stud who is really good. And then they have the alien, the Martian, Jason Dominguez.
I mean, Teddy,
His rookie year is coming up. He's an everyday starter. He is so good.
we've literally been hearing about this guy since he was 15, 16.
Yeah, he's
It's
so,
kinda
and it's
crazy.
finally the year that he is going to be an everyday player. He's going to be a staple in this lineup. And I mean, sorry, I just assume he's going to be really good because that kind of just seems the Yankee way, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just think that this is such a solid lineup and with some big names that can produce big. Obviously, you want the best out of Bellinger and Goldschmidt, but you don't know if you're getting the best. So a lot of it hinges on those two guys because you know Judge will produce. Chisholm has shown that he's going to produce. Volpe too. Jason Dominguez, you kind of are hoping for, but you can still be a little cautiously optimistic because it is his first year. But Bellinger and Goldschmidt, they're putting a lot of their eggs in those two
Yeah.
baskets.
And
And
look, let's
so
don't
they
lie.
will need to perform.
Their bench players are bench players. They're good at what they have them for. But I mean, maybe Oswald Peraza takes a step up, but I'm not buying into that.
Right.
Teddy, hold on. I'm looking for somebody here. Oh, never mind. He's already slotted as the DH. Ben Rice. So my understanding is that they're not going to be content with just rolling out with their DH being Ben Rice or Pereira all year.
Myers.
They have to be, or they're the Yankees. And look,
Right.
as much as you want to criticize things, Stanton smacked the ball last year. When he got hot, you saw how dynamic he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Teddy, and by the way, it's crazy him and Judge being together. I'm not going to call him any nicknames, but those two really tall guys are crazy in New York. Teddy, what DH do they get is a conversation for another day, but this lineup is going to challenge people. Their pitching is going to be in games. I think a lot of their games are going to come down to managing and who pitches when and how they match it up early in the year, but I don't want to pitch to this team.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. I mean, and again, it kind of sounds the same when we talk about all of these teams that are up here at the top, but that's why they're the top teams. There's no holes.
But like you're saying, there is volatility with Bellinger, Goldschmidt, even Jazz, and Volpe. You see the flashes, but I do think this team, this lineup, I do not trust near as much as the Phillies.
Right. I agree with that.
And I don't trust their pitching with Cole as much as the Phillies.
I agree with that.
So, when our power rankings, it sounds like we like the Phillies more. Things change, things move around. When you look at it and really get into it, it could go either way. But regardless, I don't really have anything more on them. We're gonna see them on postseason. Maybe Judge can rewrite the history on what he did last year because it was, like you said,
he just keeps rewriting history. Like he's so
it's not
good.
always that bad, but I mean, it's sad when you're celebrating like a bloop single for a guy that's the best hitter, one of the best hitters in baseball.
Well, yeah, the postseason thing's hard to get past, but we have to remember that we're talking regular season right now.
I know. I'm just saying it's crazy.
Yeah.
That's baseball. All
But
right,
it is hard to get past.
I don't
But
have
yeah,
anything.
he had a great regular season though. Don't forget that.
So-
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's otherworldly. For the people that are still here or listen in or hear a clip of this, we're now
Up them 2
we're now to
hours.
the point that, well, it'll cut down a little. Our last one was actually like 20 minutes less. Anyways, Teddy, let's get into this lineup of our number one power rank team. And I think everyone's number one power rank team, if they have any dignity, is this team. I want to make this statement before we really dive into it. I don't think it's close who the number two is. We can argue Phillies, we can argue Yankees, we can argue Braves, I'll argue Padres. This team,
It's so dumb.
and
I don't think
here's
that
what
we
I
have-
love. Here's what I love about them. They don't just stay content and say we're better. They continue to go and get better and better and better.
I don't think that I have ever seen a team so complete.
Look at the lineup. Left, right,
For-
left, right, left, right, left, switch, left. Platoon at the bottom.
Platooning at the bottom, yeah. Well, you know who that
God, it
platooning
might be
is.
insane.
I was about to say that platooning is that Hyesung Kim who they're bringing in from the KBO, who is projected to just be an insane player, and he's platooning with PK, who as a hitter has been very good for a long time. But
Yeah, I mean,
that's also us talking about the 9 hole. and being impressed.
Teddy.
Not to talk about right in front of that 9-hole, they have Tommy Edmonds slotted in there, Korean barbecue. Like,
Shouts out.
he is, this lineup is scary.
They go get Michael Conforto. Hey, come on over here. We'll show you what it's to win the NL West. Will Smith, he's getting respect now. Such a good catcher in every way.
Good.
Max Muncy, shout out Madison Bumgarner. Get that out of the river.
So light.
By the way, only guy in the MLB to use a gray bat, it feels like. Anyways, Teoscar, he's just going to bat clean up. The most unconventional part of the team is just having him there. Freddie Freeman, you ever heard of him? Yep, he just hit another home run in the World Series. He's, where's Matt Olson? Sorry. Mookie Betts, one of the most unique, as a Red Sox fan, you have to still just look back.
Back to short, by the way.
Why?
Right, short, second, right, short.
Yeah. And, he can play there. Who knows how long he plays there, what happens. And then, of course, you have the unicorn, the myth, the legend already, Shohei.
He is the exception. Just Shohei, yeah. Again, we've already kind of talked about how I am staunchly against him even pitching this year because it's like when he is such a good best batter in the league, he just is. When he's such a good bat, why risk him getting hurt?
Yeah.
That's still my thing. It's he got hurt because of pitching the first time. That's why he couldn't play or pitch, especially last year. So I kind of just am just use his bat, especially when, and this transitions, you look at your starting rotation. Oh my God.
Extremely fast. I like their bench. They have pieces you can put in and play when you need to. Nothing too flashy. They got versatile guys. But yeah, pitching.
Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki. If you haven't heard of him, he's going to be phenomenal. He just is. Tony Gonsolin, and they even have the, six-man could be Dustin May. You also have Clayton Kershaw. Gavin Stone has still done well with them.
And you're forgetting.
They're going to have.
You're also forgetting Shohei Ohtani.
Well, that's why I'm saying that. I think it's also ridiculous that they're even pitching him because they don't need to. But their AAA team is also going to be scary just because they have way too many guys to fit in their major.
Yeah, no, they'll just keep them injured. Teddy, yeah, you got Bruzdar still. He can come up. You got Kopech, Evan Phillips. Even look at the bullpen though. The people that are currently in the bullpen: Tanner Scott,
Kirby Yates, Blake Trainen, Anthony Banda, it's absurd. This team,
Dustin May. Sorry, you're not going to be an official starter, but hey, we know you're still part of us.
Yeah, this team is just
good luck hitting his pile on the show.
It's inevitable. It's not but when it comes to them performing well, we're going to see. We might see historically bad seasons from the Rockies and White Sox this year, but we also are just as likely to see a historically great season from this Dodgers team. Honestly, even as a Phillies fan, who is a team that's competing at the top of the NL, I'm still excited to see this Dodgers team play because it's just this is going to be great. Every game that they are playing is just going to be great baseball.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason they're obviously starting out the season. They did it last year as well, I believe.
Yeah, there's not much to say about the Dodgers other than congratulations.
Here's the thing I'll say. They can be beat in a series, obviously.
Right.
They're going to be in the playoffs. We'll see how bad they're going to win, not 100 games or whatever. Just to let you know, Teddy, what do you think their over-under is? Actually think about this.
94.
103.5. Teddy, they're being...
That's insane.
That's not baseball.
The typical over-under is placed right at that near 500 mark. You have your 82s is typically where you see it.
I bet you won't take the under. I bet you won't take the under.
No, I won't. Because this team is so good. Oh, my goodness. They're so good.
Here's the last thing I'll say about the Dodgers. They are better than people realize if they don't really keep up with baseball.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. That's our list. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for sticking with us. Long episode, but it was fun.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We're not going to be doing this detail every time we do our power ranking. So,
100% no.
But, man, I've loved this. It's a beautiful thing to get to talk baseball. It's a beautiful thing to get to go through every single team. We're not going to spend this much time on every single team. And this part may even get clipped. So, listen, if we don't talk about your team, tell them to perform better. We gave everybody their fair chance right now in the power ranks. Top 15, we spent twice as long on for a reason. Okay? It wasn't an accident. Listen, we love this. If you don't love it, that's okay. Still share, like, and subscribe. Teddy?
Love y'all.